Bring Her Back, a Salem horror story, United States. It was exactly 2 a.m. The room was dark except for one candle. Aiden sat on the floor surrounded by open books, his hands shaking, his eyes red from crying. Occult symbols covered the walls around him. His phone rang. Mobile phone. Aiden, something terrible happened. Lily's body is missing from the morgue. Aiden said nothing. He already knew. He ended the call. Skull. 6 months earlier, everything had been perfect. Aiden and Lily had been in love since college. Everyone who saw them together knew they were meant for each other. When Aiden's family came to meet Lily's family in their Salem, Massachusetts home, the mood was warm and full of laughter and hope. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Then the old Reverend came. He sat across from both families with his worn Bible and his reading glasses and 2 printed astrological charts. He studied them for a long time without speaking. When he finally looked up, his face had changed. Fearful face. I cannot bless this union. The room went completely silent. What does that mean? Aiden's father asked. Their charts are incompatible in a way I have never seen in 40 years. If these two marry, something catastrophic will follow. Aiden stood up. With all due respect, Reverend, that is superstition. I love Lily, and I am marrying her. Young man, some things don't change because you refuse to believe them. Maybe, but I'm not canceling my wedding because of an old chart. Face with steam from nose. The Reverend left quietly. Aiden apologized to everyone for the scene. 3 weeks later, he and Lily were married at the Salem courthouse in a small, beautiful ceremony. Ring. They drove to Vermont for their honeymoon. 12 hours of winding New England roads through autumn foliage. They were happy, completely happy, talking about the future, about the house they would buy, about everything ahead of them. Fallen leaf. Then on a mountain road in the dark, a truck came around a blind corner. Aiden yanked the wheel. Not enough. Not in time. The crash was enormous. Collision. When Aiden woke up, he was in a Vermont hospital with a bandaged head and a broken arm, and a nurse standing over him with an expression that said everything before she said a word. Your wife? I'm so sorry. She didn't survive the impact. Crying face. Aiden heard the words. He understood them individually. Together they made no sense. He asked the nurse to repeat herself. She did. He asked again. She did again. He stopped asking after that because asking wasn't changing anything. Lily's body had been placed in the hospital morgue. The weather had closed the mountain roads. Her family couldn't arrive until the next evening. Skull. Aiden sat on the hospital floor in the dark with a photo of Lily on his phone screen and said nothing for 6 hours. Then he said one thing out loud to the empty room. I'll bring you back. I don't care what it takes. Face with steam from nose. He discharged himself against medical advice. He drove through the night to Salem. He went straight to the Reverend's house. He knocked until the Reverend answered in his bathrobe at 4 a.m. Bring her back, Aiden said. You knew something was going to happen. You must know how to fix it. Come inside, the Reverend said. He sat Aiden down and made coffee that Aiden didn't drink and told him what he needed to hear and not what he wanted to hear. There is no reversal. Death isn't a mistake that can be corrected. There has to be a way. There are ways that people have tried. Dark ways. Every single one of them has ended in tragedy far worse than the original loss. I don't care. I know, the Reverend said sadly. That's what makes it so dangerous. The people who don't care are exactly the ones who shouldn't try. Anxious face with sweat. Aiden left. The Reverend watched him go with the expression of a man who knows he is watching something that cannot be stopped. Skull. On the street outside the Reverend's house, a young man was sitting on the steps of the building next door. Mid-20s. Watching Aiden with quiet attention. I heard some of that, he said. My name is Kane. I study certain old practices that the Reverend considers forbidden. Aiden stopped. What kind of practices? The kind that might help you. Kane explained the ritual. The corpse ritual, an ancient practice documented in certain texts. If performed correctly before the body fully decomposed, the ritual could call a wandering spirit back to its body. Has it worked? Aiden asked. Some say yes. But if it fails, if your focus breaks, if fear takes over, the spirit doesn't return. Instead, something else moves in. Something that was already nearby, already looking for a body to occupy. Fearful face. But if it works, you get your wife back. Aiden took the books Kane offered. Face with steam from nose, Aiden drove to Vermont that night. He waited outside the hospital until 3 a.m. He climbed through a back window. The security guard was asleep at his desk. Aiden found the cold storage drawer with Lily's name on the label, and he opened it, and he looked at her, and he cried for a long time without making any sound. Then he wrapped her carefully and carried her to his car and drove to the old cemetery at the edge of Salem. New moon. He made a circle of ash and red chalk on the ground. He placed Lily in the center. He arranged candles at each corner. He opened Kane's book to the marked page, and he began to read. His voice shook. His hands shook. Everything shook. The temperature dropped 15 degrees in 2 minutes. Lily's fingers moved. Just slightly. Just enough. Aiden kept reading, face screaming in fear. A sound came from behind him. Footsteps on dry leaves. He didn't turn. He kept reading. The book said, "Do not stop. Whatever you hear, do not stop." Then Lily's eyes opened. White. Completely white. Her mouth opened and flies came out. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They scattered into the Salem night. The candles bent sideways in a wind that wasn't there. Lily sat up, her hair across her face, her mouth moving, a deep, wet sound coming from her chest that was not breathing. Her eyes still completely white. Skull. "Lily, it's me. It's Aiden." He took her hand. Ice cold. Cold like water from a well that has never seen sunlight. He chose not to think about that. He chose not to think about any of it. He brought her home, anxious face with sweat. The first night, he told himself it was shock. Recovery. Whatever the ritual had done would settle. She would come back fully. She needed time. The second night, he woke at 3 a.m. to a sound above him. He turned on the light. Lily was on the ceiling. Not falling. Not struggling. Pressed flat against the plaster like a spider. Her hair hanging straight down. Chewing on something she had caught. When she saw him looking, she smiled. Her teeth had changed. Face screaming in fear. Aiden went to the kitchen and made her food. She didn't want food. He bought raw meat from the butcher the next morning. She ate that. The smell in the house got worse every day. Small white worms appeared around her mouth, and she pulled them back in with her tongue. Her reflection in the mirror showed a face that was no longer the face he had married. The mouth too wide, the eyes too large, the skin peeling at the edges. But Aiden couldn't stop. He had promised to bring her back. He had promised. Broken heart. 8 days after the ritual, he couldn't ignore it anymore. He drove to the Reverend's house. Kane was there too. He told them everything. Kane's face went white. The Reverend looked at Aiden with no anger, only sadness and exhaustion. "The ritual doesn't return the person," he said. "The person is gone. Lily is gone. What the ritual does is create an open door in the body. And something that was already nearby, something that had been waiting, walked through that door. So that's not Lily. No, it was never Lily. I'm sorry, Aiden. It was never Lily." Crying face. "Then who gave Kane those books?" Aiden looked at Kane. Kane looked at the floor. "Those books have been locked in my study for 20 years, the Reverend said quietly. "I locked them there because I knew what they would do to the wrong person in the wrong moment of grief." He looked at Kane. "You had no right." Kane said nothing. The Reverend stood up. "We have to end this today, before dark. Tonight is a new moon, and whatever is in that house will be stronger after midnight than anything we can manage." Faced with steam from nose. All three of them drove to Aiden's house in the Salem afternoon. The street looked normal. Leaves on the pavement. Neighbors raking yards. An ordinary October day in Massachusetts. Except the smell coming from Aiden's house was not ordinary. And the black handprints on the outside of the upstairs windows were not ordinary. Multiple entities, the Reverend said, looking up at the windows. It invited others in. Skull. From inside came a voice. Lily's voice. Perfect. Exactly as Aiden remembered it. Calling his name. Saying she was afraid. Saying she needed him. "Don't answer," the Reverend said. "Don't engage. Whatever it says, whatever voice it uses, do not respond." They went inside. Fearful face. The house was dark. Every curtain drawn. The smell was overwhelming. Decay and something older underneath it. The walls had marks on them that hadn't been there a week ago. They found her in the upstairs bedroom, sitting on the floor with her back to the door, hair across her shoulders. Still, then slowly her head began to turn, all the way around. Her face came into view over her own shoulder. That smile, those changed teeth. "You came back," she said in Lily's voice. "I knew you would." "That is not Lily," the Reverend said. He began his prayer. The thing in Lily's body moved fast. It threw Aiden against the wall hard enough to leave him dazed. It grabbed Cain by the throat. The Reverend threw holy water and it shrieked and released Cain, and smoke rose from where the water had touched. Face screaming in fear. They worked quickly. They bound it. They carried it to the car while it cycled through voices. Lily's voice, Aiden's mother's voice, a child's voice. A voice with no human origin at all. At the cemetery, the Reverend had Aiden build the fire while he completed the final prayer. "Skull." The thing spoke in Lily's voice one last time as the flames were lit. "Aiden, please. I'm here. I'm still here. It's cold, and I'm scared, and I'm here." Aiden stood at the edge of the fire with tears on his face and his hands at his sides. "Lily is gone," the Reverend said quietly beside him. "She's been gone since the mountain road. Whatever you're hearing is not her. It has never been her." Aiden closed his eyes. He thought about Lily. The real Lily. Not this. Not any of this. The woman who laughed too loud in movie theaters and made coffee too strong and had known Aiden was going to propose before he even bought the ring. That Lily was gone. She had been gone for 8 days. He had just been refusing to let her go. Crying face. He opened his eyes. The fire was already burning. The voice stopped. The cemetery went quiet. Just the sound of Salem in October. Whined through old trees, distant traffic, a dog barking somewhere on a normal street in a normal neighborhood where nobody was watching something terrible end at a graveside in the dark. New moon. Aiden sat in his car outside the cemetery for a long time. The Reverend sat with him. Neither of them spoke. Eventually Aiden said, "I thought if I could just get her back, everything would be okay." "Yes," the Reverend said. "She was already okay. I was the one who wasn't." The Reverend said nothing. Sometimes the most important things don't need a response. Aiden drove home alone. The smell was already fading from the house. He opened all the windows. Cold October air moved through the rooms. He sat at the kitchen table and looked at his phone and scrolled back to the last photo he had taken of Lily. October 3rd, 2 weeks before the wedding. She was laughing at something outside the frame. She was completely herself. Broken heart. He put the phone down. He sat in the clean, cold air of his Salem house and thought about a woman who had loved him and who was gone and who deserved to be properly grieved instead of chased through the dark with rituals and desperation. He thought about what that would look like. He didn't have all the answers, but for the first time in 8 days he was willing to start finding out. Dove, the end ghost.